right. So, hi again, everyone, and thanks a lot for joining in to today's AMA. We're happy to feature Dan from Akali and Karura as our main guest and more or less co-host. Dan, do you want to say a few words just to kick things off?
Yeah, yeah, thanks for having me on. This has been a topic that a lot of us have been waiting for I would probably say well over a year. Getting BTC into the Kusama and Polkadot ecosystem, and no better team to do that than you guys at Kintsugi and Interlay. So time is getting, yeah, the time is coming to where this is really going to start getting integrated into the whole ecosystem. So today, yeah, looking forward to talking around KBTC and then how that will interact with parachains like Karura and Akala going forward. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Amazing. So, the proposed idea is to give a quick overview for those who are perhaps new, who are not up to date, of how KBTC and AUSD work. And then we'll share a few more interesting things that are actually coming up in the next few weeks. So I'll go first. I'll give a very, very short update of how KBTC works and what we hope to bring to the Kusama ecosystem. So KBTC is the essentially sister product of InterBTC. KBTC is the wrap bit conversion that is provided by the Kintsugi network into the Kusama ecosystem. Under the hood, KBTC is a decentralized version of WBTC, the centralized wrap Bitcoin that we have on Ethereum today. There's over $15 billion worth of wrap BTC on Ethereum, and all of that is centralized and controlled by BitGo, which means one hack, one issue, one regulatory event, and all of that BTC could be lost. And the interesting and important part is 20% of that is in MakerDAO, another 20% in Compound, 8% in Aave, and the rest is distributed across DeFi apps. And we're basically sitting on a ticking time bomb because we know that centralized systems sooner or later face issues. So what we've done at Interlay and Kintsugi, specifically with KBTC, is we've decentralized custody over Bitcoin. We allow anyone to become a custodian, but of course you don't want to trust anyone on the internet with your Bitcoin. That's even worse, arguably, than trusting BitGo, which we can say is a reputable company. So, of course, we need to fix that. And what we do is we require anyone who becomes a custodian, or as we call them, a vault, registers by locking up collateral. Currently, collateral is locked up in KSM, and in the future, there will soon be more assets that can be provided. This collateral is used as an insurance that the vault will not steal the user's Bitcoin. And if the vault does try to steal, misbehave, or just goes offline and disappears, our system, the parachain, will liquidate that vault and reimburse users using the collateral. So as a result, you as a holder of KBTC do not trust the vault. You are protected from financial losses due to failure of the bridge. And this is essentially what makes this, from our perspective, the Bitcoin bridge that will bring BTC DeFi to mainstream. On a high level, if we take a step back, what we've built is essentially the version of DAI for BTC. KBTC is a stablecoin hybrid. It's backed by physical Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain and secured by multi-collateral system. And this makes it a very interesting construction and very interesting BTC wrapped asset to use for especially long-term holders and DeFi protocols. Why we think this is super useful for systems like Akala and Karura is because, as opposed to a centralized system, Akala and Karura as a network know that even if the BTC is lost on our side, there's enough value to secure the price. And this provides additional security to protocols that integrate with KBTC, which we believe will make KBTC the Bitcoin version for DeFi. And I'll stop here and hand over back to Dan because next we should get a quick update and intro on AUSD.
Yep. Awesome. And I'll kind of also add on to what you were talking about around these collaterals, because you mentioned KSM, but the other thing that we're going to be working on with you guys is LKSM. So that's another product that I'll talk through in a second. So one of the reasons why we're excited about KBTC is because our stablecoin AUSD, which can be minted on both Karura on the Kusama side and on Akala on the Polkadot side, the stablecoin becomes stronger and more scalable the more and more strong reserve assets or collateral assets that can be accepted to mint those stablecoins. The AUSD stablecoin is an over collateralized stablecoin backed by multiple collateral. So it's actually kind of similar to what you were just talking about, Alexei, with your guys' vaults, multi-collateral. But in the AUSD side, people will collateralize assets such as DOT or KBTC when that's included in the collateral set. And then it allows people to essentially draw liquidity out of their assets without needing to sell them. This is especially, I think, important for the Bitcoin community because if you're a Bitcoin holder, you're most likely planning on holding it for the next 10 years. So people who hold Bitcoin a lot of times don't want to sell their BTC, but this allows people to collateralize their BTC and draw out stable coins, essentially pulling liquidity out of their assets without losing ownership. And then what's happening right now is there's a lot of different kind of yield use cases popping up on Akala as well as on other parachains around the ecosystem where people will actually be able to go and earn using that AUSD. So, for example, you could take $100 of Bitcoin into Karura and mint, let's say $50 worth of AUSD because it's over collateralized and maybe you want to be safe and keep a 2x collateral ratio. But you take that $50 and then you can go put it into a money market, let's say Aave, for example, and put that in there and earn, let's say 8% or 10%, whatever the rate is at the time. So as you can kind of see, you're retaining ownership of your Bitcoin, but then can pull liquidity out and actually earn interest or earn yield using AUSD that you've drawn out of your assets. So this is one thing that we're really excited with working with Interlay on because this brings a much needed, I mean, the biggest asset class in crypto, the biggest asset in crypto being Bitcoin. It brings this into the whole DeFi ecosystem on Kusama and Polkadot. The other thing, going back to your comment about collaterals, Alexei. So many of you listening are probably in the Kusama and the Kusama ecosystem and are maybe aware of LKSM or liquid KSM staking. This product allows you to essentially stake your KSM on Karura and get a liquid form of that out while your underlying KSM is still earning interest. So right now, regular KSM on Kusama staking is about 14.5%. And then LKSM staking on the Karura side is 19.9%. So it's about 5% higher just for moving your KSM over and staking on Karura. The reason why that is higher on Karura is because we're actually, the protocol is actually able to choose validators that are better for users. So we're basically prioritizing validators who have lower fees. So they're taking less of your rewards. So more of the rewards are being distributed to the people staking via Karura. Then when you stake and get LKSM, what happens is you're still earning that 19.9%, but then you have this liquidity in LKSM, this token that's able to be used to do other things. So one example that's going to come up soon that we're going to be working with Kintsugi on is getting LKSM as a collateral that can be used in these Kintsugi BTC vaults. So this gives people another kind of use case for their LKSM to be able to go and basically collateralize their Bitcoin vault on Kintsugi. There's several of these LKSM use cases kind of popping up. We just announced yesterday we'll be working with Anchor Protocol on Terra, and Anchor is actually going to be taking LKSM as a collateral for minting for borrowing UST on the Terra side. So it's starting to be really fun and cool just to see like where all these use cases for assets like LKSM and LDOT are popping up. Um, so that's kind of my overview of AUSD and LKSM. Alexei, maybe for some people who may be wondering, could you? I'm personally wondering too if you could explain a little bit more around the collateral side and how that actually works, because I know with AUSD there's over collateralization to hedge for price risk, and I know you said that with the collaterals in these Kintsugi vaults, it basically ensures that if somebody were to lose or steal the Bitcoin, that collateral would help to kind of back that up. But is it over collateralized similar to AUSD, or could you explain kind of how that works exactly, and how that might work when LKSM is brought in as a collateral?
Absolutely. So it is quite similar to how asset-backed stablecoins like DAI or in this case AUSD work. Um, our system requires vaults to over-collateralize in, let's say, KSM, and then vaults can accept BTC. We over-collateralize to protect against price fluctuations. Obviously, if the value of the collateral were to drop below the value of the Bitcoin held by vaults, they could have incentive to steal. And that's why our system balances the value of the collateral against the value of BTC such that the collateral is always worth more than the Bitcoin. That's how the game theoretic security model works. The interesting part here is that LKSM helps us make this more capital efficient. Right? You have two op right now. You can mint or register as a vault by locking up KSM, native KSM. But what you can also do, and this is what we're actually looking quite forward to, you can add LKSM as a collateral asset. This means that you could use your LKSM to basically lock that up and run a vault on Kintsugi. And then you receive staking rewards from Kusama, and at the same time, staking/block rewards from Kintsugi. And this makes this quite attractive to run vaults because suddenly you're earning yield not only in Kintsugi, but also on KSM. And then potentially what you can do then is if you run a vault, you register your vault with LKSM as collateral, you mint BTC, so you bring your own Bitcoin and then mint KBTC, and then you use that, for example, in DeFi applications on Karura, you get exposure to 3 assets at least, or actually 4. You get exposure to Kint because you're running a vault, and that's how vaults earn rewards. You get exposure to KSM because you're earning staking rewards from LKSM. You get exposure to KBTC itself because mint and redeem fees are paid out in KBTC, so you have Bitcoin exposure. Plus, of course, you're holding Bitcoin yourself. And lastly, depending on how you use KBTC on Karura, you may or may not have exposure to additional incentives in CAR or AUSD and so on. And I think and actually we've written up a blog post about this a while ago of highlighting 5 potential use cases. And I'll post this on Twitter right after this call. And it's really exciting to see that we're finally there. We're finally actually at the point where this is all going live. We have Karura is live, Kintsugi is live, and obviously now it's time to integrate. So I'm not sure, Dan, if you want to do us the favor and basically leak a bit of alpha about what's happening in the next weeks.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess going back to the comment around bringing KBTC in as a collateral asset, there's several people kind of recently have been asking about how any asset is accepted as a collateral for minting AUSD. So our goal is to expand the collateral asset kind of set as much as possible, because this is how AUSD can keep up with demand. So with one of these stablecoins, with these stablecoins that are over collateralized, when you have demand for a stablecoin, so let's say there's a pair on Moonbeam who wants $1 million worth of AUSD liquidity, that means you have to put at least $2 million into a vault to mint that $1 million of AUSD. And with that $2 million that you need to have collaterals to put in there. So that, like I said, like DOT and KSM, but adding something like KBTC expands that available collateral set significantly. So Interlay and Kintsugi's BTC is one. The other thing that we're planning on doing is accepting as many parachain native tokens as possible. So like the Hydra DX token, the Centrifuge token, or the Moonbeam token, these all we want to be able to accept parachain tokens as collaterals. But the way it works is the Akala DEX is built into our chain. And actually, the main purpose of the DEX is to facilitate liquidations on the stablecoin when the collateral, basically, when the collateral price drops to a point where it's no longer safe, that vault is no longer safe. And there needs to be liquidity in the DEX where those liquidations actually happen. So the way it works, when you want to accept new collaterals, you first need to list that token. So in this case, KBTC with AUSD, and build up really deep liquidity in that pool. Because if somebody gets liquidated, let's say you have to basically plan for the worst. So if the biggest vault open with maybe a KBTC collateral issuing AUSD, and they have, let's say, $5 million in that vault, and they get liquidated, the pool behind that, the KBTC AUSD pool, needs to be able to absorb that when that liquidation happens. So what we need to do first with Kintsugi is build up a pool on the DEX, so KBTC and AUSD. That alpha that Alexei is referring to, we're actually kicking that pool off next week, depending on time zone. It's on the night, so Tuesday the 19th, and this is kind of what we're gearing up for over the next what is that, five days or so. So we're really excited to start getting the KBTC pool going. And then the next step is, once this pool is kind of bootstrapped, there's a lot of liquidity providers earning rewards and things like this. Our goal is to get that pool large enough and kind of deep enough so that we can start working with our risk assessment firm called Gauntlet to basically look at KBTC, look at the pool, look at kind of the health and kind of just statistics around this pool, the price stability of BTC itself, and so on. Gauntlet comes up with their own recommendation around whether or not the asset is ready to become a collateral. And then our goal and intent is to get KBTC to the point where it's ready to become a collateral for minting AUSD. So that's the kind of step one, and step two is open the pool, and then step two is get this collateral accepted as a collateral asset for minting AUSD. And that's going to just unlock a lot of different use cases for users on Kusama and on Polkadot. So that's the kind of, I guess, the alpha, the news that we're working towards. I'm really excited to start working more with the Kintsugi team and get KBTC on Karura next week.
Amazing, thanks. So to summarize, KBTC is coming to Karura. The first step is to open a pool in the AMM, amass liquidity. Obviously, because this is everything new, there will be incentives. You can read up on this in the latest post on the Akala Discourse Forum. We'll share this right after this call as well, where you'll find all the details about this pool, when it goes live, what the liquidity targets are, and so on. And we'll be posting guides of how you can easily move KBTC from Kintsugi to Karura. And we'll be helping everyone out who has questions. And if you're interested, again, about more use cases, next thing, obviously, the goal on our side, as Dan already mentioned, is to get KBTC listed as a collateral for AUSD, and then explore further pairs on the Akala deck and Karura decks.
Awesome.
Now,
And
go ahead.
I'm sure there's people wondering. So you said like you could bring KBTC over to Karura. So what's the best place for people to go to learn maybe how to get their Bitcoin minted on Kintsugi? And then also, what are the requirements for actually running a vault. There may be people on the call who are interested in doing that. I guess what tokens do they need to hold, and then where can they find out about requirements for running one of these vaults?
Great question. So to mint KBTC, you should go to kintsugi.interlay.io. This is where you'll find the Kintsugi dApp, which features the bridge itself, staking, transfer functionality, and links to all other relevant resources. If you want to learn more of how this all works, how the backing of KBTC is implemented, go to docs.interlay.io, and there you'll find all the resources that you can think of, starting with a deep dive of how Interlay and KBTC work, videos, slide decks, everything essentially to get you started. Now, for those of you who are interested to run vaults, we have had quite a few people run vaults on testnet. Currently, we have 33 vaults on Kintsugi. And to run a vault, what you should do is obviously go check out the docs. And then you'll find there under the vault kind of section of the instructions of how to spin that up. What you will need to do is you'll need to run a Bitcoin full node. And we suggest you run the Vault client implementation that we have. It's open source. You can check it out. You can also contribute if you want to. You can also build your own, do it manually. Of course, we recommend initially that you use the software that we provide. And then on the asset side, you will need to register with KSM. So you need to have at least 3 KSM in your Vault account. This is used to register as a Vault, and then you can add as much KSM collateral as you feel comfortable. The current total collateral threshold for the network itself is 15,000 KSM. It's been recently raised from 7 to 15. And the only other requirement is you should have at least 1 Kint to cover fees for transactions. So in summary, read the docs, download the client, spin up a Bitcoin full node, register with 3 KSM, and make sure you have at least, or 1 Kint is more than enough to spin up a vault. And that's it, and you're good to go. And obviously, join our Discord. We have a vault launch where our team is offering technical support, and the 33 other vaults are, from what I've seen, super helpful and super active in helping onboard new community members. Maybe to note, to mint KBTC as a user, you don't need to do any of that. If you have Bitcoin and you want to use it on Karura, the only thing you need to do is you go to kintsugi.interlay.io, you go to the bridge page, you'll see that it's very straightforward. You select how much KBTC you want to mint. The system will tell you where to send that BTC. So we will select a vault for you based on capacity, and you send BTC, and that's all you need to do. And within a few hours, because we'll wait for Bitcoin confirmations, Bitcoin is slow, but after that security threshold passes, you will receive KBTC in your account, and then you can go ahead and move them to Karura. For this, Karura has a bridge of its own. So you then go to the Karura dApp, and you'll find all what you need there. You'll find the bridge, so how you move or transfer assets from Kintsugi to Karura. And then you'll also find the pool to potentially participate in that on that dApp. Obviously, we'll have a detailed guide posted next week that walks you through all of this. Obviously, it might be a bit too much to listen to, but it's actually a very straightforward process. And the slowest thing in this is just the Bitcoin side, the making the payment on BTC. Everything else is super easy and super fast.
Awesome. That's super helpful. Cool.
Dan, so you'll post,
yeah,
I guess, from your side as well. I believe most people are probably aware, but where can everybody find more details on the pool itself, and what's the best place to also check out AUSD and the DEX and the dApp itself?
Yeah, so around the KBTC pool, I know you guys will be posting some information, so we'll help share that. we also have in our Discord, we are always there kind of answering questions around these new pools that are popping up and helping people get started. So that's always a good place to go. And then as far as learning about Akala, I guess more generally, our website, so akala.network, has a lot of information there. There's also an AUSD page if you're interested in reading a little bit more in detail around how the stablecoin actually works. And then, yeah, that's probably about it.
Cool. I guess before we open the stage to questions, do you want to share anything from your side, any stats, anything kind of latest hot news on Karura, any kind of infos on TVL and so on, just to kind of highlight that Kusama growth is really about to explode?
Yeah, I think so. One thing that's like really relevant to the conversation we just had is we're kicking off this LKSM campaign with it's actually a really cool way to earn rewards because you actually earn an AUSD, so you're earning a stable reward instead of farming random tokens and dumping them for stablecoins. So it takes a lot of that work out for people. So we have 1 million AUSD set aside for this, as well as 2.5 million Thai. Taiga is one of the most, I guess, sleeping giants that people in the ecosystem may not know about yet, but they're basically like a Curve 2.0 built on Karura, and then they're building Tapio on the Akala side. This is going to be at one of the main stable swap protocols in the ecosystem. So Taiga or Thai is their token. They're providing 2.5 million Thai rewards for one of their pools. So this is all the first few pools in this LKSM pools. They're going live this week. And then next week starts the AUSD rewards for LKSM staking. So what that means, going back to when I was talking about LKSM, currently it's at 19.92% on Karura. And then we're estimating around 10% additional returns on LKSM staking via the AUSD reward. So that'll put KSM staking at around 29%. Staking on Karura, and then like I said, you could still be earning that 29% and then take your LKSM over and use it on Kintsugi for a vault. So a lot of exciting stuff happening there. We're also next week going to be announcing another liquid staking validator partner, one of the biggest in the industry, that's kind of helping us with LKSM and actually running the validators for this kind of this meta staking pool that we have on Karura. And then yeah, I guess the last just update on Karura, if people haven't heard or read the update around AUSD. So we've been talking about AUSD this whole time, and we're referring to AUSD on Karura as well as on Akala. So we just did an upgrade around, I think it was a couple weeks ago, to essentially upgrade KUSD to become and merge with AUSD. So now there's one single stablecoin to serve all parachains and dApps across Polkadot and Kusama. And then the wormhole bridge that we just joined, first we're joining that bridge with Karura, and then Akala will be connecting to wormhole. And then kind of ironically, wormhole is actually going to be the first bridge to ever connect Polkadot and Kusama. So wormhole will be connecting Akala and Karura, and through that bridge, AUSD will be able to flow across from Akala to Karura, and also from Karura to Akala. And the stablecoin will be completely fungible across both ecosystems. So you could open up a AUSD vault on Karura and bring over AUSD from Akala and actually pay off that vault. So lots of cool stuff happening with the kind of the whole DeFi ecosystem and Polkadot and Kusama. And yeah, like I said, KBTC and Interlay's BTC on the Polkadot side is a huge part of that, and it's a big win for the whole ecosystem. So yeah, congrats and great job to you guys.
Thanks a lot, and obviously big thanks to the Kala team who have been a great support and one of the, I think, strongest teams who have been contributing so much to the Kusama and Polkadot ecosystems. So it's obviously it's great fun for us to work with you guys. And I'm super excited that we're finally now launching or combining the two flagship products of the teams. So this is super exciting.
Yep.
Before moving on to questions, just kind of sharing a bit of latest updates on Kintsugi itself. So KBTC has been live for nearly 3 weeks now. We have about $1.2 million worth of KSM locked. We have $500,000 worth of KBTC minted. The TVL is now being scaled up. So far we have started with collateral ceilings. This means that the system was limiting the amount of collateral that can be deposited, hence limiting the amount of BTC that can enter into the system. We were observing the stability. Now we're quite confident and happy with how things have been working. So we've proposed, and actually community members have proposed, to double the ceiling to 15,000 KSM. And as this fills up, as we launch more and more integrations for KBTC, from our side, really, if things progress as stable as they are, we're going to propose that ceilings can be raised even further, and then really to essentially start this inflow of BTC into the Kusama ecosystem. Right now, we've just had the first few drips, but there's a full ocean, essentially, of Bitcoin that is just waiting to be utilized in a decentralized way. In fact, what we've been doing over the last week is we were at Bitcoin Miami, the largest Bitcoin conference, I think with 30,000 people attending. We were one of the sponsors and essentially used the week to speak to essentially all of the leading industry and institutional partners, or not partners in that sense, providers of Bitcoin, talking to exchanges, wallets, custodians, market makers, and so on. We've been talking to a lot of these people for the past 2 years during COVID and finally met a lot of them. And as you can imagine, and I was actually quite surprised that the feedback we received was very, very good. Everybody likes when you tell them, look, we have a decentralized version of, Wrap BTC. And something that I'd like to report, and I'll stop here because we'll do another short kind of summary and perhaps an AMA on like some insights about the Bitcoin conference. But what I can say is that Bitcoin maximalism, I think, is dying. We've seen there's still a few proponents calling everything but Bitcoin a shitcoin, but the amount of new projects that work across multiple chains, and the amount of people who hold not only BTC but also ETH and then other assets, and I hopefully soon DOT and KSM, is increasing significantly. And there is a video floating around on Twitter where some pretty big Bitcoin maxis were asking the crowds, so who is holding ETH here? And we're shocked that nearly everyone in the crowd was not a Bitcoin maxi anymore. So I think by now we've realized as a community, both Bitcoin, DOT, ETH, and so on, that it's time to build bridges and to let people use their BTC as they want to, not restrict them and say basically everything but Bitcoin is bad. So this was very refreshing, I have to say, and I think makes us even more optimistic about the potential growth that we can achieve in the Kusama ecosystem by allowing the Bitcoin community to finally get access to decentralized bridges and decentralized Bitcoin DeFi. And with that, thanks so much for listening, and we'll open the floor to questions. So if you want to ask a question, please request and we'll bring you onto the stage. Obviously,
and it looks like we have. It looks like we have. I don't know how to say it. Clow, CLO0W, but he's been doing a ton of work on Amsterdam. So I just wanted to say hey and thank you. Hopefully, see you in Amsterdam next week.
Absolutely. I mean, if you want to come on stage and quickly tease what's going to happen in Amsterdam next week, you're very welcome. Otherwise, we'll tease for you. All right. Well, then in this case, a quick teaser of what's happening next week. Next week, we'll have the first big Polkadot conference in person, I believe, since the tough times during COVID. Oh, there we go. Well, you're already a speaker. Clau, I'll leave it to you then.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Hey. Yep.
Hello. Yeah, sorry, you got me a bit off guard, so I don't have like proper mic equipment or headphones. Just talking through my phone, and I just saw the Twitter space, so decided to like jump in. Yeah, thanks for inviting me to the stage. I would love to share a brief info on the upcoming event. It's called Amsterdam, and it is a 4-day event taking place in Amsterdam from 20th of April until the 23rd. The event is organized and supported by the majority of the Tsama. So we have like 7 or 8 projects, parachains, but also like other projects that are actually contributing to make this event happen. A lot of you are among us now, so thank you for that. And well, yeah, the reason for throwing this event is that it has been really long since we have met for the last time in person, like more than 2 or 3 years. And now the whole Dutsama ecosystem is at a completely different stage. We have had actually the first parachains in Kusama for more than half a year now. So this thing has been really overdue. So yeah, one of the reasons is just to bring the whole ecosystem together. And for many of us, it will be like the first time meeting in person. But besides that, we also want to give a new impulse to the ecosystem. So we are also going to be organizing a hackathon, which will be a 6-week-long hackathon, which will continue also after the event. And for this hackathon, we are now in the process of collecting all the bounties from the project. So the projects will offer bounties that are covered by their own treasuries or by their own funds. And on top of that, Polkadot Treasury is being kind enough to also offer a $150,000 prize pool, which will be distributed to the best submissions. So we basically hope that with this hackathon, we manage to give a new impulse to the ecosystem, that we manage to not only get some outstanding work done, but also hopefully attract some new talent. So yeah, this is about it. Very looking forward to seeing you, everybody, in Amsterdam. Unfortunately, we're sold out. So if you're listening to this and you didn't get a ticket, I'm very sorry. You're late. But there will be more of those to come in the future. So yeah, we'll definitely get a chance to meet.
Cool. So yeah, we'll all be in Amsterdam. If you didn't get a ticket, I think this is the first of many events to come. I'm aware of quite a few that are being organized by quite a few communities in the Polkadot ecosystem. If you're around Amsterdam, you can still try to, meet us in the evenings. We'll definitely be checking out Amsterdam and checking out the restaurants, boats, and so on there. So perhaps we'll meet one or the other person from this AMA there. All right. Do we have any further questions? We've shared quite a bit of information. I think there's a lot of things to process. But if there's any more questions, raise your hand now. Otherwise, we will close this and go into the Easter holidays. All right. Well, with that, Dan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we really look forward to the launch of the KBTC AUSD pool next week. And with that, we wish everybody a happy weekend and see you next time.
Awesome.
Also,
thanks, everybody.
Don't forget to check out the Interlay Twitter account right after this. We'll be sharing a few resources as preparation for the launch next week. See ya.
Perfect.